Before I get into this video, I want to make one thing clear. Huge spoilers for Marvel's Spider-Man 2 lie ahead. In order to talk about this game the way I want to, spoilers have to be brought up as I discuss my thoughts on things such as the characters and the ending. If you have not finished the main story of the game yet, I urge you to do so before watching this video. Add this video to your watch later playlist on YouTube so you can come back to it once you finish the game. With that out of the way, let's get into it. In 2018, the world screamed the praise of Insomniac when they released Marvel's Spider-Man. Webheads rejoiced at the quality of the game, allowing PS4 owners to live out their fantasies of swinging through New York City and looking out for the little guy, while the main story allowed you to focus on taking down some of Spidey's most iconic enemies and save the city in the process. All while dealing with that classic Spider-Man internal struggle of trying to balance the immense weight of normal life and the wild responsibility of being a guardian angel to the citizens of one of the biggest cities in the world. Say the game was a hit would be an understatement. It was nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and at the time of writing has sold tens of millions of copies. So with a smashing success like that, of course Insomniac is going to follow up, but not in the way some people might have thought. In 2020, they released Spider-Man Miles Morales, a launch title to coincide with the brand new and incredibly hard to get PS5. I have a hard time calling this a full sequel since it was not fully priced and only about 7.5 hours in length. I prefer to think of Miles Morales as a DLC for the original game, especially since Miles has a presence in the 2018 game, so him as a web slinger is teased beforehand. However, that doesn't mean the game suffered in quality. I actually prefer Miles Morales to the 2018 game as the Venom powers added some much needed variation to the combat. Then, finally, the stories and the characters of Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales collide into the true sequel of the 2018 game, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Now, with me being an Xbox boy for most of my gaming career, I didn't have the opportunity to play Spider-Man 2018 during its initial release. However, thanks to all my friends planning on getting PS5s and not Series X's, I made the jump to Team Blue as well for the 9th console generation. And Lady Luck was on my side as I was able to get a bundle from GameStop that included the remaster of Spider-Man 2018 and the Miles Morales game only about 2 months after the controversial release of these consoles. Upon playing both Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales, I thought they were good, but not great, and quite overrated. However, that doesn't mean I wasn't excited for the next step in the saga. I bought Marvel's Spider-Man 2 on launch day and played through the main story and dabbled in some side content as well. So of course, I've got some thoughts, so let's talk about Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 released on October 20th, 2023 and is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, so all footage you are seeing was captured on that platform. The game takes place 10 months after the events of Miles Morales. You play as both Peter and Miles as they continue their journey as New York's resident crime fighters. Peter is still dealing with the emotional fallout of losing his Aunt May, as well as the financial fallout as he struggles to hold a job and earn paychecks to put towards the house she left him. Miles is not without his own struggles, however. As he is still grieving the loss of his father, he is struggling with his love life as he desperately wants to ask his crush on a date, while also struggling to figure out his own identity to write a college admission essay. Then, to add up on top of that, they have to fight off New York's newest predators, Kraven the Hunter and the alien symbiote Venom, both of which are out to end the lives of the Spider-Men. Much like the first 1.5 games, I enjoyed my time fighting crime, saving the city, and swinging from building to building. However, just like those two, I'm not nearly as high on this as the majority seems to be. Could be because I'm not a huge Spidey fan in general, I don't dislike the character, he's just far from my favorites in the superhero world, or maybe some other factor. But these games just do not knock my socks off. But let's dive into some positive things I have to say first. First and foremost, let's talk about something that became very clear to me within 5 minutes into this game. It looks damn good. Very quickly, it was clear that Insomniac made this game a PS5 exclusive because the PS4 simply would not be able to handle it. Swinging around in the opening section when you are fighting the Sandman, I was immediately impressed by the smooth frame rates, the detail in the environment, and just how good Pete, Miles, and Marco looked. I've not played 2018 or Miles Morales since getting my PS5, but I do not remember them looking this good. Also an improvement over the other games is the traversal, specifically the web wings. Watching the reviews for this game and hearing about the web wings ahead of time, I initially was not happy with this decision. Spider-Man possesses such a unique form of transportation and swinging through the streets and across the rooftops of New York. Web swinging is still in the game, obviously, but so many players love the feeling of swinging through the city as that was one of the highest praise points of the previous games. So why give players other tempting options to try to lure them out of doing what they love? However, I'm happy to report that I was proven wrong on the web wings. I felt they were very unintrusive and I did not feel tempted to use them when swinging through the city. But then, when it came time to cross the river or traverse through places with no tall buildings, I was able to whip the web wings out and glide to my destination with relative ease. They become extra usable thanks to the scattering of wind tunnels through the city, where gliding became more like flying for a set distance. They allowed me to not only easily, but quickly get to my destination. And then if I didn't want to use them at any time, I did not feel like I had to. I thought this would be a big negative for this game, but I'm happy to report that I was very wrong. The best part is that you get them right from the start of the game during the boss fight with Sandman, so there's no waiting on them. Speaking of boss fights, I thoroughly enjoyed them. Well, most of them. More on that later. But for now, I want to talk about the really good ones. In particular, I really enjoyed the fights against Lizard, Venom, and Peter in the symbiote suit. All three of those felt like a test of my abilities and everything I had learned up to that point. Venom was a worthy final boss in my mind, having multiple health bars and stages, each more challenging than the last. Lizard, with the exception of Sandman, made for a great first boss in the game. The Lizard fight is probably my personal favorite of the game. It was a hectic boss fight that combined the fast-moving Lizard with his ability to scale walls, adding a vertical element to the fight, as well as a lot of environmental hazards for you to both look out for, as well as to use to your advantage. Lastly, the fight against Peter in the symbiote suit was cool because you already know the moveset of the enemy before the fight even started. This fight instantly reminded me of Dark Link from Ocarina of Time, in the sense that you were essentially fighting yourself, albeit Symbiote Pete probably isn't as hard as Dark Link was. But this fight is extra significant because of the meaning behind it. Peter has had the symbiote with him for a solid amount of time at this point, and with it causing his mood to change and making him more abrasive, it has caused a strain on all of his major relationships, this being with MJ, Harry, and Miles. Miles is taking it especially hard as his mentor has fallen under the shroud of darkness and increased emotional distance between the two. Miles and Pete early in the game were a close dynamic duo, ready to take on the world for one another. Now, Miles has trouble getting Pete to do something as little as answer his phone calls. So inevitably, tensions rise between the two, and it all boils over into this fight where you play as Miles, and you have to take down symbiote Peter. Then, the fight ends with Peter breaking free of the symbiote suit with help from Miles. The fight was a lot of fun, while also proving a worthy story element. However, from where I was sitting, the symbiote wasn't all bad, as the symbiote/anti-symbiote suit was by far my favorite part of this game. As someone who is admittedly a little smash happy and enjoys living out the fantasy of just being a powerhouse dude who can smash anyone and anything with ease, Symbiote Spidey definitely fed into that fantasy. Not to mention, Venom embodies the fantasy perfectly, so by nature that, Venom is one of my favorite characters in the world of Marvel. But the symbiote suit is when Peter is at his strongest and most ruthless. The special abilities you get with these suit feel so much more powerful and harder hitting than Peter's standard abilities. And this all culminates into Symbiote Surge. Symbiote Surge acts as a rage mode that builds up as you fight enemies. Then, once activated, Peter gets a huge damage increase and is able to clear a room of enemies in no time, all with attacks and finishers that are unique to this mode. When I saw that meter was full, I was filled with joy as I knew I was about to dish out some serious punishment in spectacular and powerful fashion. Because of this, I was devastated when I had to give the symbiote back to Harry. And speaking of Harry, I did enjoy the story overall, especially the relationship between Peter and Harry. From reuniting as best friends in the beginning of the game, to becoming a crime-fighting duo for a spell, then the two ending as enemies, with Venom taking over Harry's mind and turned the two against each other. The story of the first game was an aspect of it I enjoyed, with it ending in Aunt May's death and Peter locking up his once mentor, Dr. Otto Octavius. I don't think the ending of this game hit as hard as the previous mainline entry, more on that later, but I feel the story overall as a whole was slightly better. However, this game in my mind is far from perfect. Here's why I think that. First up, a very small thing that is more annoying than bad to me, but I do want to mention it. I noticed that with the amount of steps I was taking, I was covering a whole lot of ground, so I actually tested it. Turns out for every step I was taking, the foot on the ground would slide across it and I would glide along, creating a very floaty and unnatural feeling. I find this to be quite peculiar in a AAA game like this. It is a common thing to see in cheap one-man made games due to the limitation of money, resources, and animations. Yet here's one of the most popular developers of today doing it. But again, very insignificant given that you spend so much time not on your feet. But I just wanted to mention it. Maybe it was a glitch or something, even, who knows. What wasn't shrouded in mystery was the 4 game-breaking glitches I encountered during my playthrough, 2 of which came only minutes apart in gameplay. During the section where you are at the carnival with MJ and Harry, I had the option to sit on a bench, so I decided to pop a squat. Little did I know I wouldn't be able to get up off that bench. I hit every button on my controller 3 or 4 times, yet Pete's ass was firmly glued to that bench. So I reloaded a previous save that fixed the issue, But then minutes later, when Kraven's goons invaded the carnival, I encountered another game breaker. I was able to take them out without an issue. It was what came after that screwed me over. I don't know if there was a dude who glitched through the map or the game didn't register that it took out everyone, but the game would not let me move on. Every time I tried to leave the area, Pete would just auto-web me back into the area I was in. So, I ran around the area trying to lure the mystery enemy out, but nothing ever happened. After 5 or so minutes, I knew it was reload save time. The next two glitches were very similar. When you learn a new move, the game freezes time until you execute this move, or forever depending on how unlucky you are. On 2 separate occasions, this happened to me. I hit the buttons to execute the moves, but it doesn't register it and my game is just frozen in time. So I was left no choice but to reload my old saves and get set back again. I wouldn't be super shocked by this if I hadn't played through Starfield recently. Starfield was developed by Bethesda, a game development company that is pretty synonymous with the word glitch, and in my playthrough of that game, I only encountered one game-breaking glitch, whereas Insomniac is definitely not known for this type of thing and typically have a higher bar for quality. They were easy to solve in the end, but still worth mentioning that I encountered more glitches in Spider-Man 2 than in Starfield. It made me wish I could upgrade the game a little. But then again, maybe I could and didn't even know it because it was buried under all the upgrade options in this game. As someone who values simplicity, the upgrade choices in this game are simply overwhelming. There are 3 skill trees to work through, one for Peter, one for Miles, and a combined one for abilities that apply to both Spider-Men. The skills are unlocked using skill points, which is unique currency that can only be used on these skills. Then there are also upgrades for gadgets, health, power, traversal, things like that. Then lastly, there are tons of suits to choose from. And I know the suits are purely cosmetic, but they use the same type of currency as gadgets and the others, so I'm counting them as upgrades. To be faced with all these options on what to upgrade and spend my currency on, I found myself in 2 situations when it came time to do so. I was either paralyzed by choice or simply picking something quickly because I didn't want to spend a bunch of time evaluating my options. I'm not against freedom of choice, but this was simply too much. But one part of the game that did need an upgrade was the section where you play as Venom. I felt this was almost an afterthought in the game. I'm sure it was planned from the start given the fact that you fight Kraven as Venom, but it feels a lot different. It feels like they were 70 or 80% of the way through making the game, and then someone was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could play as Venom? And then they shoehorned it in there. It's like they did this solely for the fact that they can say that you can play as Venom. I know Venom is one of my favorite characters as he is big and smashy like I mentioned, and I would love to play as him when it feels like it's done right. If there was a standalone Venom game where he gets the focus and attention that the Spider-Man got and truly feels unique and not like a reskinning of other characters, I would be all over that in a heartbeat. Instead, this meme on the screen sums up how I feel about the Venom section. Look how they massacred my boy. And then to top it off, let's talk about the grand finale of the Venom section, the fight against Kraven. Through the first half or so of the game, Kraven is portrayed as the main antagonist, a huge, strong, intimidating person who is hunting his own death. He's driven by the act of the hunt, killing his prey until he meets a warrior who is stronger than him, that can give him the glorious death he desires. Who knows how many people or beasts this titan of a man have killed in the pursuit of that. And then here I come as Venom. I wipe the floor with him like Godzilla versus the average Joe. I probably took no more than 3 minor hits in this fight. I understand that Venom is a very overpowered character in the Marvel world and likely would be able to slap the shit out of Kraven. However, when Kraven is portrayed as the ultimate predator for the first half of the game, I would have liked to see a more intense and climactic fight against him. It was honestly one step above a quick time event boss fight for me. Venom and Harry simply flexed too hard on Kraven. However, Harry wasn't flexing at all when that nerd fucking died, but he wasn't dead for long, and I take issue with that. At one point, towards the closing moments of the game, Pete is confronted by Dr. Connors, Harry's personal doctor. Connors warns Pete that Venom and Harry have become one. Separating the two is no longer an option, so in order to kill Venom, he has to kill Harry, and there's no way to save him. With Harry being Pete's best friend, this is the last thing he wants to hear. But then out from the shadows comes Harry's dad, Norm, who begs Pete to not kill his son. With one of the hardest decisions of his life to make, Pete swings off to end the conflict. He has to choose either to let Venom live and in turn his best friend, or save the world by putting an end to Harry's life. And inevitably, at the end of the Venom fight, there lies Harry, dead, not breathing. He got. But wait, Miles, using his electricity powers, uses his hand as a defibrillator to bring Harry back to life, in turn completely nullifying that conversation between Norm, Connors, and Pete. This was meant to be a huge part of the game and a giant weight on Pete's shoulders, but then he is able to find a workaround to kill Venom and save Harry. Now, I finished the game, I saw the ending, I saw the cutscenes, I know Harry is going to be a crucial part of the next game. I get he had to be around for that. However, I wish the writing team went a different direction that didn't need Harry at this point. I think the ending would have been much more impactful if Harry stayed dead and Pete had to carry the weight of his best friend's death along with Aunt May's. Instead, they took a way out that breaks their own logic. All in all, my opinion on this game is pretty much the same as the first 1.5. A good game, but nothing that lights my world on fire. Make no mistake, I do like this game. I had a good time playing it, I'm glad I spent the time and money on it, but it is nothing award-winning in my mind. Now, let me address this. I know my opinion lands me in the minority, and I'm okay with that. I'm not here trying to convince anyone of anything. I am simply sharing my opinion and thoughts on the game. If you think Spider-Man 2 is the game of the year and you love playing it, then by all means, keep enjoying it. Nothing is more important to a video game than the amount of fun you have playing it. Quality be damned. Or if you were the exact opposite or just couldn't get into these games and would rather spend your time doing something else, that's fine too. But something about these games just does not tickle me as pink as the majority of people, but that's okay. So for me, Marvel Spider-Man 2 falls short of being amazing or spectacular, and I would rank it as being friendly neighborhood. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this one. I appreciate the time you spent here and watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and tell YouTube you liked it. And as always, let's talk Spider-Man 2 in the comments. I'm assuming you played it already since you made it this far in the video, so let me know what you thought about the game, as I would love to continue this conversation. Or even if you just watched the video anyway without playing the game, feel free to jump in the comments as well and let me know your thoughts. All opinions are welcome. As far as the next video game video goes, I recently purchased Armored Core 6. I'm really taking a step out of my comfort zone with that one. I'm a little bit into it, not too far, but so far it's all right. I like what I see, but I'm literally only 1 hour in, so take that with a grain of salt at the moment. And of course, once I am done with it, I'll put out a video on it, so subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell to turn on post notifications so you don't miss when that video airs. But until then, I'll see you in the food videos. Thanks again. I'll see you later.